This is NHTV2, North Haven Government Television, a service of North Haven Community Television. The following program is brought to you through the support of the Town of North Haven.
Good evening and welcome to the April 30th, 2024 meeting of the Board of Police Commissioners for Town of North Haven. My name is Larry Lazoff, I'm the chairman. To my left is Bob Hannon, our vice chairman. To my right is Mark Calafiore, our secretary. To his right is Commissioner Alden Mead. To his right is Commissioner Robin Wilson. May I please ask for the approval of the minutes for the March 26, 2024 meeting, both regular and executive session.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any correspondences?
There are none.
Chairman's report. I'd like to first congratulate the North Haven Police Department, the officers, the detectives, the bosses for this great work that they always do, but we're getting a lot more press these days, so the public have to follow what's happening at the police department. You certainly are encouraged to follow the North Haven Police Department's Facebook page. There's a lot of interesting things that are on there. I'd like to remind everybody that this coming week, and I'm sure the Chief will talk about this, is Police Memorial Week, and we'll talk about that briefly, I'm sure. Just a reminder that last month we did have a budget presentation, and that was on April 19th. And there will be a town meeting on May 13th and the referendum on May 21st. We are proposing to add 2 more officers to our department, and we hope that the public votes in favor of this and supports us. We need the encouragement and support of the public. My usual reminder, please, especially as we're going into warmer weather, that there are more children outside at play, joggers, bikers, etc. So please just be observant as you're driving. And the usual also reminder of please lock your homes, your cars, your sheds, etc., to help prevent any losses that might be happening. We have to be vigilant and help ourselves. With that being said, I will turn it over to the chief.
Thank you. Just to add on your report in regards to the budget request, we initially asked for 4 additional police officers, as I'm sure you remember, because it's a tough year budget-wise. That was trimmed down to 2 officers, so we of course hope that that passes in referendum. So where we are with the budget at the end of the 9th month of the fiscal year, at the end of February, at the end of March, we're at 74.3% expended, so we're just under our self-imposed limits, and we look like we're on track to hit our budget goals this year, as we typically do. We continue to stay on track. I know this month's meeting was a week later than usual, so April has been a good month budget-wise, so we're still on track to hit that goal. As I've mentioned, at least over the last year, overtime is still tracking high. One of the major drivers of that is our dispatch overtime, but we're getting close to full staff in our dispatch center, so that's it's under control, but it is tracking high. We also have been putting out special details, crime suppression details on the overnight and early morning hours, which cost some money. Most of it is funded through grant money, but we are spending some overtime money on that. And our training line, as you can see in your reports, is also tracking pretty high. But all very important things that we're not willing to cut back on, and we'll cut in different areas if we have to trim back as the fiscal year comes to an end. As the chairman stated, the town budget meeting is May 13th at 7 o'clock at the high school. I appreciate the commission's support at the budget hearing, and again at the budget meeting and the budget workshops. I think that goes a long way to show a unified front from the police department, between the administration and the commission, and that referendum, very important referendum this year on the 21st. Does anybody have any questions in regards to the budget at this point? Under our traffic report, our solar speed signs, 2 of the 8 have been moved. As you may recall, 2 months ago, you made a motion and voted to send a letter to the state's Department of Transportation for approval to put the speed signs on Route 22 and on Quinnipiac Avenue, both state roads. Those have been installed and they've been working well for us. I don't have any consideration for a motion for this month, but just to tee it up for next month with the increase in activity at the Carina Park in the Grove area of town with tennis courts and pickleball courts, and the town did a a sizable project there. There's an increased activity, and some neighbors have been complaining about not only noise but some parking issues. So we're going to take a look at the parking situation at residential area, and we may bring something to you next month for consideration. Under training and professional standards, please refer to your packets. There's a number of training classes that have gone on in the last 2 months. We've been very active with training, as we like to stay active. So you can refer to those. Last month, we conducted a department-wide active shooter, active threat training. So everybody in the department went through that. It's always a very important training, but it's time intensive, it's costly with overtime. So that was taken care of this spring. The state property examiner conducted a compliance check in our property and evidence room, and we passed with no issues. We also recently added one more evidence officer internally, so that sergeant was trained and now has access to contribute to the increase in the need for evidence and property management. So under professional standards, 2 officers have been disciplined in the past couple months after internal investigations. Both filed grievances, and we will be going up to Weathersfield for a labor hearing on both of those grievances. One will be in May, one will be in June. We can talk further in executive session. We have one ongoing IA investigation, and we could again talk in detail in executive session on that. The update on personnel: the 3 most recent graduates of the police academy, 2 of them are on their own. They're out on patrol. One has been extended for just some minor scheduling issues. We expect that he will be on his own in the next 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. The 2 certified officers who were sworn in between a month and a half ago, both of them have gone through training here in North Haven. They're both on their own. So our staffing has really increased in the past month or 2. We have 1 officer still in the police academy at Post in Meriden, and she is scheduled to graduate on July 15th. We still have 1 out on injury. He has been out for 8 or 9 months now. We hope and expect that he'll be back in the next 2 weeks. And we still have 1 officer on light duty. On the Uniform Services Division, if you refer to your packets, in March, as well as the year-to-date stats, our costs for service are slightly down compared to the past 2 years. The past 2 years were really record-setting years as far as costs for service. We're slightly down. You'll note that the written reports, so the more in-depth the investigations are, the more written reports there are. So those written reports are up, not only for March of this year compared to the past years, but for the year-to-date stats as well. Motor vehicle stops, we're a lot more active now. Our traffic division stays active and more officers on the road. The newer officers are stopping more cars, more enforcement for motor vehicle violations. Year to date, we're at 600 compared to 512 last year and 443 the previous year. Our criminal arrests are also up, as the chairman noted in his report. Total arrests for March of this year were 39 compared to 34 and 25 the previous 2 years. Year to date at 120 criminal arrests, and that's at the end of the 3rd month of the year, compared to 109 and 54 the previous 2 years. You'll note in your reports, family violence, vehicle thefts, and vehicle burglaries are all flat, which is good. Those have not continued to increase. And all larcenies are down. All larcenies are things like thefts from vehicles, catalytic converters, parts of vehicles, thefts from yards, shoplifting, so those are down. In March, there were 38 compared to 56 last year. Year to date, 113 compared to 150 last year. And this can be contributed to more officers on the road, better presence of officers deterring the crime. Moving on to the Investigative Services Division report. Again, you have a detailed report in front of you, with just some highlights following up on 3 stolen vehicles from March. All 3 were recovered and processed for forensic evidence. We had 6 commercial burglaries and 2 residential burglaries in March. In March, we arrested an individual who committed an armed robbery with a handgun on Washington Avenue. That was an arrest that was in progress. The employee interrupted the robbery, fought with one of the suspects. We responded and took him into custody. It's an ongoing investigation because there's more suspects. We made 2 arrests in March for an armed carjacking that occurred earlier this year. One was a juvenile, and one was an adult. And we made 1 arrest recently and 1 which will be coming up soon, this week or next week, for an armed robbery with a handgun at a State Street gas station. On Friday, this past Friday, we had a juvenile from out of town come to the North Haven High School, confronted one of our students, had a verbal altercation, made a threatening gesture, displayed what looked like a handgun. We're still not sure whether it was an actual handgun or a facsimile handgun. Early this morning, we served 2 search warrants. We searched the juvenile's home as well as his car. We made an arrest on that case just 3 days after the incident. So that was a nice job by our patrol division as well as our investigative division. So we're staying busy, but we're going in the right direction. We're solving more crimes. We're deterring more crimes. We continue with the grant funding overtime for overnight and early morning crime suppression. We are continuing with grant funding shifts for ATV and street takeover shifts when we have intelligence that those are going to occur. Soon, with the weather changing, we'll have our bike units out in the shopping districts, and we have more and more officers coming off training, joining our uniform services division, so we'll have more of a presence out on the road. And again, we are hoping that at referendum this budget passes, and we'll have 2 additional officers budgeted for January 2025, which will be a big help for us. We have no request for the Benary Scholarship, and all I have left is for executive session.
2 things. I just wanted to remind the residents that last year we did not have any increase in officers. So it's very important that this year we go forward and have the 2 officers we're requesting. So that's very important you got the vote. And also, if you don't mind, I didn't mention about the police Memorial Week. We'll just expand about that to the residents that know what that is, please.
Sure, yeah, so the large ceremony nationwide happens in Washington, D.C. For Police Memorial Week. Every year, for as long as I can remember, we send a contingency down. I don't know the exact number of officers traveling down to D.C. this year, but we will be represented. They visit the official memorial where Officer Timothy Laffin, Senior, his name is on the wall as a line of duty death from North Haven, the only North Haven officer who's represented down there. And I know the deputy chief has spent a couple years down there. You want to expand on the activities?
Yeah, like you said, every year our personnel go down there and they represent us well, and they attend the candlelight vigil, and they go to the memorial and pay their respects to Officer Laffin. So it's great to see them get together and go every year. They represent us very well.
Awesome. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Entertain a motion to go into executive session for personnel.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, we are back now in open session after having had a discussion in executive session. I believe Commissioner Mead has a comment.
Oh, I just wanted to compliment the animal control officers because I know I see them in action here and there, and I saw recently in the park on Patton Road, Patton Farm, I guess, and Crystal was there. She did a great job actually handling an animal, and people, of course, are the most difficult. She did that well too, so I just thought it's once in a while worth noting.
Great, thank you. They do a great job. Okay, we're gonna entertain a motion that I will make for Officer DeLauro. Once her accrued time is used, we shall grant up to 60 additional sick days with documentation from her doctor. I'll make that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any further business? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night.
The preceding program is brought to you in part through a grant from the Town of North Haven. Watch town meetings or other videos on demand at nhtv.com.